From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and All India Radio, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell, not long landed in Perth in Western Australia. I did the direct flight, London to Perth, all the way, some 16 and a half hours. But, saves getting off the plane, going through those x-ray machines again, so I can recommend it. But yeah, doing a little bit of exploring before heading to the beach, actually. Not for fun, though. Well, it should still be fun, but helping Cricket Australia to launch their summer of Test cricket ahead of the first Test of the Australian summer with the West Indies touring. So joining up with Channel 7 and indeed the ABC again. So looking forward to being back on the radio with a little bit more commentary again.
I'm Jeff Lemon. I'll be heading over to Perth to join Ali pretty shortly. For the moment, I'm still in Melbourne. It's a week before the start of summer officially, and it is still absolutely freezing and raining here.
And I'm Sunil Gupta for All India Radio in New Delhi. And let me tell you, I've just given up the chance to go to Qatar and sit in the royal box and watch a game just to be on Stumped. No, just kidding. It's always a pleasure to be on Stumped and always a pleasure to comment and talk about sport. I know this is a cricket show more than anything else, but I think, cricket is just one part of the sport that we all enjoy, the sporting world. And what we're seeing today in that World Cup, is why sport enthralls us all, because of the surprises, the upsets, throwing up new heroes, creating new stories, demonstrating that giving up in sport or in life is never an answer.
Good to have you both with me for this week's show. First up on Stumped, England women's cricket is at the start of a new era, with former England men's seamer John Lewis taking over as coach. Now, his first job is taking the team to the West Indies for 3 one-day internationals and 5 T20s. Lewis will be able to welcome back England captain Heather Knight after she's had time out for hip surgery. But before she flies out, she has very kindly agreed to join us on Stumped. Heather, great to see you. How are you doing, first of all, after the hip surgery?
Yeah, hi, Ali. I'm doing good. So it's been a long old rehab, just over 3 months post-surgery now. But yeah, just getting back to full fitness. Feel really good with that, actually. The last month's been a bit of a slog, getting back to fielding and just sort of fine-tuning a few little bits. But I feel fit and ready to go. And it's probably... I'm the most excited I've been for a tour for a long time, really, because I think when you have a bit of time out of the game, you really appreciate and obviously want to get back to doing what you do, playing and captaining the England team.
Heather, the new coach, John Lewis, he spent a lot of time with the England men's team as a bowling coach. He's played all 3 formats for England. What do you think he's going to be able to bring to you as a head coach?
Oh, I don't know John too well, actually. I only met him properly this week, but I think from what I've heard through his vision and this week, I think he'll bring a bit of a structure to where we want to go as a side. We've obviously got quite a few young players that have come into the team, and we've got a really nice blend actually of youth and experience. So I think bringing those players together and pulling us all in the same direction and getting towards winning competitions. We've got a couple of big years coming up, obviously the T20 World Cup in South Africa and the Ashes next summer. So I think it'll be a bit of a reset for us. I think it's been quite a strange summer with a lot of senior players missing out and a lot of young players coming in as well. So bring a wealth of experience. He's obviously Gloucestershire guy as well from the West Country. So nice to have a fellow West Country person around. I'm just looking forward to getting to know him and getting to bounce obviously ideas about where the team goes off him and soak up any knowledge I guess he's had from working in different environments as well.
You were talking about the West Indies series that are coming up, and obviously as preparation for the World Cup in South Africa earlier next year. Now it's a very young team in the sense that there are 6 players receiving their central contracts. And you just spoke about this blend of youth and experience. How do you see that actually gelling together? And how do you see this entire tour actually being as a preparation for the World Cup coming up? Because remember, you didn't make it to the final last time. And that was because you lost to South Africa in the group stage. So was that a factor in the way that you prepared? And how do you see this team actually gelling around you to be able to make it much further in the World Cup this year?
Yeah, I see our blend of youth and experience is a real positive. The young girls that have come in have brought a real freshness, a real freedom, actually, which has been really good for us. And I think the fact that we've got a bigger pool of players now and that real competition is a massive benefit for us. I think it's been one of the toughest selections to pick these squads. There's a lot more players that are in contention, which is going to be great for us as a side. It means that as individuals, we're going to have to keep pushing forward to keep our place, and that's going to only be a good thing for the team. I guess in terms of your question about the West Indies, it's obviously our last trip before the T20 World Cup. We've got 5 T20s out there. So from my perspective, it's about getting players really clear on their roles, maybe having a little look at players in slightly different roles and working out what is going to be our best combinations, obviously, for that T20 World Cup coming up. And in terms of the last tournament, obviously, the weather scuppered us a little bit in that semi-final. It's been nice to know that there's been reserve days for the knockout games in the men's competition, which obviously was probably a result of what happened to us being knocked out and not being able to play that semi-final against India. So, yeah, that was obviously a big disappointment, not being able to compete for a final because of the weather. But the girls are super motivated to try and win this T20 World Cup. I think T20 is probably our strongest format at the moment. The girls in the summer had a good 2-1 series win against India with a really young side, which I think was brilliant. I think the average age was sort of 23, 24. So to do that is a sign of the strength that we've got in T20 cricket. So yeah, it's a really exciting time, and I'm just really pumped to get back out there and try and blend those young players into the side. I've got to know the ones back here really well over the last month. And it's been a lot of fun, and certainly I feel like I can have a real influence and help those girls as much as possible in their early careers. So an exciting time and looking forward to that World Cup next year.
A couple of final thoughts for me, Heather, before we let you go. One is that this will be to your first time back captaining. You weren't captain during the India-England series, obviously at the end of the summer when the run out of the non-strikers end happened with Charlie Dean. You weren't captain, but you did quite notably tweet about the incident and sort of stand up for Charlie Dean. I don't want to necessarily open the debate about the rights or wrongs of the run out and whether you would do it unless you want to pass comment on that and what your ethos would be. But I just wonder overall sort of what you feel that episode ultimately sort of did for the game in a way.
Yeah, I was obviously watching at Lords, and I think in terms of the MANCAD, my opinion is you have to have a rule. I think that's pretty key. I would actually make a slight tweak to the rule. Because as a batter, I like to watch the ball up until just before it's released, and then I like to watch the batter at the other end when it's released. So I think unless it's someone that I'm trying to pick up a slow ball or a googly or something like that, so I'd actually change the rule to the bowler's front foot. When their front foot hits, then that's the point that you're able to leave the crease, because I think it's like a split second, but it would mean the non-striker would be able to watch the batter at the striker's end, and it wouldn't be sort of the momentum taking them out of the crease. But obviously put that tweet out there to try and protect a young player, and seeing some of the I guess negative tweets that she was getting after the comment that DT made, I didn't think that was quite right. So that was kind of why I got involved and then just tried to stay off Twitter. It can be quite a pretty negative place, particularly around divisive subjects like mancadding. And people tend to be quite forthright with their opinions and don't really take into account the whole situation, I think. So, yes, it's something that I definitely tried to avoid at the time. But I guess it put a spotlight on women's cricket and people were talking about the match, which I guess isn't always a bad thing.
Yeah, absolutely put it under the spotlight, and it almost sort of spices things up for, well, not only the World Cup, T20 World Cup to come and women's IPL that comes after that as well, when foes become teammates as they do all over the world at the moment. Some news just to be great to get your comment on is the news about the 100, which just came this week, that the 100 in the UK is going to have a draft for next year's competition, just like the men's does. Just wonder, from your perspective, what does that tell us about the game? Is it a good move? Yeah,
I think it's really exciting. It's certainly, as players, a bit different. We've never experienced anything like that. Even last year, just having your salaries out there is something we've not been accustomed to. So I think it's going to be pretty cool, actually. Trying to think about the tactics of it is quite intriguing, and which team's going to target who and how teams might be split up slightly. I think it's something we're probably going to need to get used to. Obviously, the IPL and PSL are starting next year as well, and I imagine there'll be some sort of auction or draft involved with that. And the game's set to progress actually really quickly, I think, with all the franchise leagues that are popping up now, or the men's competitions that are starting to have a women's versions, or things like the Fair Break, which have just had a standalone women's competition. So it's actually like quite an intriguing time, and how international cricket fits with that as well. So it's kind of an exciting time, but also a bit apprehensive about what the future is going to look like, and the effect it's going to have on different parts of the game. But yeah, as a player, there's going to be a lot of opportunities, and I think it'll push T20 cricket in particular to another level in the women's game.
Now, the Women's Big Bash League is at its climax, and we know that Sydney Sixers, who are coached by England legend Charlotte Edwards, are in the final. But how is this for a stat for you? Now, since 2020, the teams coached by Charlotte Edwards have reached the knockout stages of all 8 competitions they've been part of. So that is, if I look down the list, it's 3 seasons of the Rachel Hayhoe Flint Trophy finals, that's in the UK, and 3 actual trophies from that, I might add, the 50 over comp in the UK. 2 Charlotte Edwards Cup finals, that's the T20 comp, and it is named after her. And yes, she's won it both times as well. 200 finals, and now you've got the WBBL. So, Jeff and Sunil, this really begs the question. We talk about teams, we talk about coaches, but there is one pretty big common denominator here. Jeff, how is Charlotte Edwards being received in this role with Sydney Sixers? And then, how important is then the value of a good coach?
I think people have known in Australia for a long time just how good Charlotte Edwards is as a leader. She led the England team out to Australia so many times. She's been involved in the Big Bash as a player and as a coach before this as well. And as for whether it's all about the coach, I guess it's a bit chicken and egg. You've got that Southern Vipers, Southern Brave sort of juggernaut that she's built in England. Are they so good because of the coach? Are they so good because of some other reasons as well? And I think when you have success in that format, that helps teams stay successful as well, because more players want to come and join that team. They become a destination club. They get that momentum going. So I think she's been a huge part of that for that England setup. And then she's got all of that experience, and she's able to bring it to a club like the Sixers, who probably needed a bit of freshening up. They've been the marquee side in the WBBL for most of its journey. They've generally had the biggest names, but they've had a couple of big names leave. They were a newish kind of team this year. And so she's been able to open the windows and let some fresh air in.
So now, was it Shane Warne who famously said, the late Shane Warne, who famously said that a coach should be something the teams travel to the ground in? Yeah. He wasn't always the fan of the influence that a coach would have over players. What's your take?
It's a conundrum, actually. I think, if you look at a club team versus a national team, I think there are significant differences between the two. And certainly, if you look at the Indian example right now, there's Rahul Dravid, who took over from Ravi Shastri. Now, Ravi Shastri was, in his own way, he had his, attitude and what he brought in terms of his own style to coaching. And I do feel that somewhere along the line, Rahul Dravid, however well respected he is, and he is very well respected, a team like India, you need somebody at the top, I still believe, who has that little fiery spark and who can sort of give you a quick sort of kick up, rather than just be very, very nice all the time. Now, I'm sure he does it in his own way, but sometimes you've got to be slightly stronger. So I think the value of the coach is actually to be able to see, especially in the national team, people who are coming in India. As you know, there are so many different people from different parts of the country speaking perhaps different languages, coming from different walks of life, some of them from, very, very straitened circumstances. That to get them to gel together, I think that is far more important than things like, technique and throwdowns and that type of thing. You always have support staff. So I think the coach is the person, is the glue, really, who holds them all together. Ravi Shastri had his own X factor. Rahul Dravid has his own factor, let me put it this way. I don't think it's really come to the fore so far. If you look at what he's achieved or not achieved as a coach in the last 1 year since he took over in the South Africa tour, India hasn't done too well in international matches. I think that's something that everybody needs to think about as to what he is bringing. And as you know now, they're talking about 2 different coaches for the red ball format and for the white ball format, which I think is the right way to go. That's exactly what happened in England. And you saw what happened to England with Matthew Mott coming in as the coach of the T20 team. So I think coaches have a role to play. I think it's as I said, it's to be able to cement the different parts together.
Suryakumar Yadav, 111 in just 51 balls against New Zealand. I mean, find someone who hasn't been in awe of Yadav of late. Virat Kohli, his Indian teammate, of course, described it as another video game innings, was how he put it, probably just highlighting how ridiculous and effortless some of his shots are. And I heard Australia's Glenn Maxwell, another, who just said, he's batting on a different planet at the moment. And he's currently the number one T20 batter in the world after piling on the runs in this format this calendar year. 1,151 of them, to be exact, right now. What do you think of him as a talent?
Well, I think, Ali, you'll remember I was on Stumped. This was about a couple of months ago, perhaps, when I had said that look out for this lad, Suryakumar Yadav, in the World T20, because his initials SKY, that's what he's called. He's called Sky. And I said the sky is the limit for this chap, and he absolutely has proved me right. And I'm so happy, but he had it in him. What this 111 or 51 deliveries does not reveal, and you'd be interested in this, is that the other 69 runs were scored by all the other batsmen in 69 deliveries. That is the measure of the impact of Suryakumar Yadav in this particular team. And to my mind, his early dismissal in that semi-final against England was one of the reasons why India sort of imploded in that particular game. Not the only reason, but one of the reasons. I've always maintained, I've said this before in Stumped, that there are 3 T's for a good cricketer. There's talent and technique, which brings you, to that level. But the X factor, and I keep talking about that, is something called temperament. And I think that is what Suryakumar Yadav demonstrated by that very first stroke that he hit. And he has lived up to it. You look at him in the World Cup, even though India crashed out in the semi-finals, he, along with Arshdeep Singh, and I remember saying this in an earlier program, were the 2 stars, really, for the Indian team.
Well, that's all we've got time for this week on All India Radio with Stumped. Don't forget you can follow us on Twitter. We're at BBCWS Sports and use the hashtag BBC Stumped. And check us out on YouTube as well. Go to BBC World Service's YouTube channel. My thanks to Sunil Gupta and to Jeff Lemon and all of you. Speak to you next week. Bye-bye.
From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and All India Radio, this is Stumped.